There's a train coming behind you. Get the hell out of there.
Wait, what do you mean? Oh shit. Oh, the door's right there. Wait, no! So this game was a divisive beast back in 2008. Nobody really knew what to make of it since there was really nothing else like it. Sure, there was parkour in games prior to this one, but they were usually from a third-person perspective and not the focus of the game. Here, it's all about the running and jumping and from a first-person perspective too, which hadn't really been done up until this point. You could thank this game for paving the way for games like Ghost Runner and Dying Light, at least when it comes to the point of view. I should also thank this game personally for introducing me to what parkour even was. After beating this game back in the day, I watched a shitload of videos of dudes free running. You know, back when YouTube didn't really have content creators, but people doing stupid shit. Got so interested in this stuff that I considered trying some of it out in real life. That's until I got onto the roof of a building, looked down and realized, oh shit, I could die doing this. Suffice to say, my interest in this stuff stopped there, but thankfully this game exists for chicken shits like me. Can live out my free running dreams vicariously through Faith, who is our protagonist in this adventure. Welcome to the whitest city imaginable, where everything is clean and crime is almost non-existent. Things used to be all free and dangerous in these parts until an authoritarian regime took over and made everyone conform. Not only did they install mad surveillance all over the city, but they also have tight control over the media. Some people are fine with it, others not so much. Enter Faith and the Runners, an underground crew of parkour people that deliver private info and packages across the city for those that have been criminalized. Throughout the course of this game, Faith has to solve the mystery of a politician's murder and save her sister from being framed, but we'll get back to all this later.
Get away from him, Faith.
So, 2 out of 10, this game is too white. Nah, I'm just kidding. On some real shit, it's crazy how good this game still looks more than a decade later. This is yet another example on why a unique art style is more important than graphical fidelity, at least in the long term. This game went the opposite direction of a lot of games of that era with its color scheme, or I guess lack thereof. A lot of games at that time were drenched in gray and brown for whatever reason. This game is whiter than Seamus, and wherever you look, there's a distinct lack of primary colors. Everything is so clean and organized, which is also different from a lot of other dystopian cities where it's usually some dirty cyberpunk hellhole. I'm not reminded of the era that this game came out until they show people, which is thankfully not too often. Wish this game wasn't as bright as it is though. They went way too hard with the bloom in some of these parts. I mean, look at this. It may not come across that well in the video, but there were some parts in this game where it got so bright that it hurt to look. Imagine trying to parkour while squinting. Speaking of vision, this field of view is disgusting. Is Faith wearing goggles? Why the fuck is the view so narrow? Some people say that they get motion sickness playing this game, and the reason is because of this. I get that this game wants you to be immersed in the moment-to-moment movement, but I would still be immersed if I had a wider range of vision. This shit is just sickening. Worst part about this is that there's no slider options to adjust it. Touching on immersion though, this game is pretty good at that. Notice how there's no heads-up display. Instead, the game guides players through its levels by color coding points of interest in red. This mostly works too since most of the environment is white, which makes a little bit of red here and there a lot more striking than it otherwise would be. Always love when games are able to diegetically guide the player, and Mirror's Edge is one of those games that does it mostly well. There are moments where this method of leading the player fails, but I'll expound upon that more when I talk about the gameplay. Overall, I adore the look of this game. How this game looks is how a fucking Aphex Twin album sounds like, which is appropriate since a lot of the backing tunes are IDM. All the music in this game is composed by Solar Fields, who usually makes a lot of dope ambient trance music. He went more IDM with this game, and the result is some of his best work. A nice mixture of harsh mechanical beats when you're on the run from somebody, and lush ambience when the game slows down. It's super polished, which matches the pristine futuristic look of the game. Only wish that the rest of the tracks match the quality of the intro song. No joke, the main menu theme is one of the best pieces of electronic music I've ever heard. Every time I start up this game, fucking spine tingles. It should be said though that this game does have some performance issues. This game was rushed out, so there are bugs and glitches, but the weird thing that stood out to me was that my game was constantly crashing when I tried to record footage using shadow play. Luckily I was still able to get footage using OBS, but warning to PC players with NVIDIA graphics cards, turn off instant replay because if you have that on, this game will crash eventually. Apparently it's because this game uses PhysX, which is some outdated file that messes with some other stuff. Just a heads up. So Mirror's Edge is a linear game where you swiftly maneuver over city environments to reach the end of the stage, jumping across rooftops, swinging on pipes, wall running, sliding, zip lining. All the fundamentals of parkour are here and have to be performed by the player in order to keep up momentum. That's the name of the game generally, is to keep up the pace, since the more momentum Faith has, the quicker she's able to perform many of these acrobatic maneuvers. At this point, those that haven't played this are probably like, man, all you do is free run? This shit must be easy. Absolutely not. There's a lot more that goes into these maneuvers than you think. Most of them require specific timings through button presses. This roll that you have to do after falling great heights, you actually have to time that with the button press. There's some tight jumps that you have to manually coil your legs up to make, and there's also 360 wall jumps that require a whole other button press to perform. Remembering and performing all of these in sequence does take some getting used to, but man, once you get it down, this game becomes pretty damn exhilarating. When Faith says that the runners see the world differently, you feel that shit when you're effortlessly performing these death-defying stunts with the wind blowing in your face. At max speed, the movement is quite fluid, and of course the look of this game makes it quite the spectacle.
Drake says there's been some heat on West Arlen. Hope's place. I guess that's where you're headed, but be careful. I'll tell him what's going on there.
Unfortunately, this high of being a parkour master only happens after replaying these levels a couple of times because the level design is clunky as shit. It's guaranteed that new players are going to get lost because often the way you're supposed to go is vague as hell. The method of highlighting points of interest in red only happens so much and goes so far. Since everything looks the goddamn same, you're often going to be taking leaps of faith off buildings and shit, thinking it's the way to go when it's not. This happens even more so later on when you're getting chased or shot by cops and have to make these split-second evasions. Luckily, the checkpoints are pretty generous to the point where sometimes they'll put you ahead of where you died. There's a hint button that turns Faith in the direction of where you're supposed to go, but it's pretty useless since it only shows the general direction of where to go instead of the route to get there. There's also this time slowing ability that you can tap into that makes reacting to hits and obstacles easier, but honestly, it's something I forgot about. It's a lot cooler to get through this game in real time anyway. But yeah, the vagueness on what to do and where to go results in a lot of frustrating trial and error. This is why in the beginning of the vid I said that this game is a divisive beast, because a lot of people understandably hate this shit. Much of that frustration does get alleviated on replay since you actually know where to go, but you still have to deal with the awfulness that is the combat. Yeah, this game isn't just free running. Sometimes the game puts these cops in your way where you either have to take them down with either martial arts or shooting. The hand-to-hand combat is decent, but you're mostly just going to be disarming dudes since it's the most efficient way to dispatch enemies. Doesn't waste your time as much, which is the main problem with the combat. The fun in this game is when you're constantly moving and keeping up with the pace, and nothing is more pace breaking than when you have to stop in your tracks to beat up some guys. Most of the time there's a way out where you can just run away, but way too often this game insists on putting these assholes in your direct path. And mind you, Faith isn't super powered or anything like that, so it doesn't take many shots to take her down. This is where you take the guns off the people you take down and the game all of a sudden becomes Battlefield. You guys couldn't help yourselves, huh? Everything I said about the pace breaking with the hand-to-hand combat applies even more so with these gunfights. Feels like I'm playing a completely different game, really. The shooting feels sloppy, but the most annoying thing about the gunplay is that you have to constantly pick up new guns since there's very limited ammo. What the fuck am I, Reaper from Overwatch? I get that the reason for this is to discourage using the guns, but then why put so many engagements in the game where you're forced to use them? The last level in particular is atrocious because of this. You would think a game about parkour, the final climax would be an epic parkour challenge, but nope, a lot of inescapable gunfights. Also, how the hell are these armored SWAT guys getting bodied by some free runner in a tank top? It's just a game, Josh. Let it go. So I've been bitching and moaning for the past couple of minutes, and at this point, a lot of people are probably getting the impression that I don't like this game, which isn't true. This game is rough around the edges, but I still like this game quite a lot. Believe it or not, this is one of my favorite games to speedrun. For one, this game is mad short with only 8 levels, and there's also some pretty easy speedrun strats that makes the gameplay a lot more satisfying. Not even just for speedruns, but for casual play too. If you side jump and then quickly face that direction, for whatever reason you gain instant max speed. I abuse the fuck out of this. Oh my god, it makes the gameplay so much more seamless. When falling straight down, you can avoid rolling by kicking before the land, but the most infamous glitched move is this kick glitch that allows you to double jump. This is something I've never been able to master, but man, the day I do, I'm gonna be zooming through this game.
Get directions from a face. Get out of there. Nice work. Look, I'm gonna try and get the...
So Faith travels around the city and meets many people in order to gather information on her sister's framing. Upon infiltrating a security firm, she learns about Project Icarus, a program used to train special forces to take out the runners. After that, Faith manages to track the real killer of the politician to a boatyard where she kicks her ass and turns out to be Celeste, one of your comrades the whole time. She's been working with Project Icarus because unlike Faith, she would rather live a more comfortable life. Soon after, Faith frees her sister from a police convoy, but unfortunately she gets taken away again not long after. This time to a tower called the Shard, which coincidentally has most of the city's surveillance servers. Faith thrashes them while reaching the top, and it's here where her sister is being held hostage by this scumbag named Jackknife. He tries to escape on a helicopter with her, but Faith yeets his ass out the other side while rescuing her sister. The game ends with both of them looking dramatically over the city. So the story in this game isn't talked about very much, even by people who enjoy this game. It's not that the narrative is bad or anything, it's just that the visuals and gameplay are the clear selling point. Those are the two aspects that people will immediately notice as being unique. The story seems kinda generic in comparison, but this doesn't mean that it's not worth a damn. For one, I really like that they went with these 2D animated cutscenes instead of opting for regular in-game cutscenes. Obviously gives this game a more timeless look, but I like how the dark grittiness of them juxtaposes the pristine brightness of how this game looks in-game. It's like on the surface this city looks beautiful, but when Faith digs deeper, you realize how dirty and corrupt things actually are. And speaking of Faith, I really like her as a character. For one, her design is cool as fuck, but you gotta admire her headstrong dedication to make things right. I would be lying if I said that I gave a shit about the other characters, like I didn't really feel anything when Merc got murked, and the reveal of Celeste betraying you can see coming a mile away. Feels like this game should have been a little longer to flesh out things like this. So yeah, that's Mirror's Edge. Definitely a game that could have used more time in the oven to iron out the kinks, but it's still pretty damn good if you ask me. There's just nothing else like this game. That pristine, hyper clean aesthetic is still really appealing. The gameplay, while cumbersome, is incredibly involved and satisfying to master, and it's all really short and compact, which makes playing this game a breeze if you have an afternoon to spare. Gets a thumbs up and a recommendation from me. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. Until next time.